No one escapes me! You are next!
The kings, the generals, the masterminds behind curtains, they gathered their armies, 100 of them. Steel boots, sharpened blades, eyes of cold machines, all aimed at you. You know what's funny? They believed numbers meant safety. They believed shadows meant control. They believed silence meant weakness. But you're the paradox they never planned for. Because every step you take isn't just a step. It's thunder cracking through their strategy. It's laughter echoing inside their skulls. And while their soldiers marched, you didn't even flinch. While their weapons pointed, you didn't even bleed. While their commanders screamed, you didn't even move. And still, not one army touched you. Not one blade drew blood. Not one bullet found its mark. Not one shadow held your shape. Tell me, was it luck? No, it was the madness. It was the silence. It was the game you were born to play. And now the world knows. 100 armies, all broken. By one man, by you, whispers. That's how it begins. Not on battlefields, not with swords raised, but in silence, in corners, in rooms with no windows, global whispers, leaders with dry lips, eyes shifting, pens scratching. Your name, not spoken, not shouted, but written, circled, underlined, like a warning they couldn't erase. In sealed bunkers, men in uniforms fidget, generals with medals polished bright, still trembling. They don't look at each other. They look at the map, at the circle, at you, every satellite above the earth, every file locked in secret archives, every shadow report. One name keeps bleeding through, yours, and so they panic. They gather, they plot, they sign orders with shaking hands. Armies, not one, not two, but hundreds. Steel boots aligned in rows, weapons gleaming like teeth in the dark, engines roaring underground, nations emptying vaults just to breathe easier at night. Why? Because of you. One man, one shadow, one laugh, echoing across continents. They tried to keep it hidden. They called it precaution. They called it insurance. But it was fear. It was panic, painted as strategy. Maps pinned with red markers. Cities circled like graves before the digging begins. And in the middle? You imagine that? One man so dangerous it takes 100 armies just to feel safe. But even then, they don't feel safe. You can see it in their eyes. The twitch in the general's cheek. The sweat on the president's brow. The minister's hand shaking as he signs your death warrant. They're not building armies. They're building cages. Cages they hope you'll never step into. Cages they know you'll break anyway. Because deep down, they already lost. Before a single shot is fired. Before a single tank moves. Before a single soldier marches. They lost. The moment they admitted you exist, and still they gather. Still they plan. Still they huddle in the dark, praying to gods that have long stopped listening. And in their silence, you smile. Because storms don't scare you. You are the storm. Count them. Go on, one by one. Each soldier. A prayer whispered into the void. Each tank. A confession disguised as steel. Each drone. A trembling hand afraid of your shadow. They stacked them. Numbers upon numbers. Armies upon armies. Technology upon technology. And what did it prove? Not power. Not dominance. Not victory. No. It proved terror. Because only fear counts heads. Only fear demands more. Only fear believes that if one fails, 10 more might succeed. And if 10 fall, 100 might stand. But here's the joke. Quantity doesn't win. It drowns. Imagine armies as glass castles, glittering tall, shining in the sun, but fragile. So fragile. One stone, one crack, and the whole thing shatters. That's what they built. Not fortresses, not strongholds, but glass castles, stacked higher and higher, because they knew you were coming. The more they added, the weaker it looked. Every extra battalion screamed panic. Every new weapon whispered fear. Every alliance signed in secret was nothing but desperation written in ink. You didn't even have to move. You didn't even have to speak. Just silence. Just stillness. And their equations broke. Their mathematics of war failed. Their blueprints of conquest burned. Their science of destruction crumbled in their hands. Because silence doesn't calculate. It infects. It corrodes. It eats their numbers from the inside out. And still they counted. Endless boots on the ground. Endless planes in the sky. Endless codes on their screens. But they never counted right. They forgot the one number that mattered most. You won. One against hundreds. One against thousands. One against empires. And every time they circled that number, every time they wrote it down, their hands shook, their eyes twitched, their voices cracked, because that number was louder than all their statistics combined. One man, one shadow, one madness, and 100 armies already trembling. So go ahead, count them, stack them, worship them, because in the end, numbers don't march, numbers don't fight, numbers don't win. Fear doesn't measure victory. Fear measures loss, and you dismantle more with silence than they could ever build with guns. And then, the moment comes. The armies step forward, boots pounding the earth, engines snarling, flags raised high, like they believed color could protect them. But listen closer. Do you hear it? The sound beneath the sound. Not confidence, not courage, not unity. Hesitation. The first fracture. Steel boots. Sinking in quicksand. Rows meant to look unbreakable. Shifting, stumbling, as if the earth itself rejected them. Commanders shout. Orders barked into radios. Voices sharp, desperate. But those orders don't fly. They fall. They dissolve into whispers before reaching the soldiers' ears. That's the thing about fear. It's faster than sound, faster than bullets, faster than strategy. They sent armies, but their fear marched faster than their feet. You haven't even raised a hand. You haven't even drawn a blade. And yet, they're already breaking. Why? Because their war is inside their skulls. Their battlefield isn't dirt or stone. It's thought. It's imagination. It's the shadows in their minds that wear your face. Look at them, shields rattling against their own hands, eyes darting side to side, hoping someone else steps forward first. No one wants to be the first sacrifice. One stumbles, one falters, and the illusion cracks, a perfect line splintering down glass, and once it cracks, it never holds. The silence grows louder than drums. The stillness cuts sharper than steel, and in that silence, they hear you. Not your voice, not your footsteps, but your presence, that invisible weight, pressing down on their lungs, stealing their air, turning their courage to ash. The generals don't admit it, but they feel it too. The sweat soaking through their collars, the trembling fingers wrapped around binoculars, the gnawing realization that their 100 armies are nothing but meat. Standing in front of a storm, and storms don't negotiate, storms don't retreat, storms don't lose, so they hold the line, pretending, praying, hoping, but it's too late. The fracture is already there, a hairline crack in steel, invisible at first, fatal in the end. One man, one shadow, one laugh. That's all it took. No explosions, no blood, just silence, breaking their will before their weapons ever fired. And now, their armies march, but their courage stays behind. Their weapons gleam, but their hands shake. Their voices shout, but their hearts stutter. And you watch, calm grinning, because you know this isn't war. It's theater. It's panic dressed as discipline. It's soldiers marching into graves they already dug themselves. And the fracture? It only widens from here. At first, you were just an enemy, a target, a man with flesh, with blood, with bones. At least that's what they told themselves. That's what the reports said. That's what the generals whispered in their bunkers. But fear? Fear has a way of rewriting truth. And slowly, you stopped being a man. You became something else. Something that they couldn't measure. Not flesh, not blood, not bone. A myth. Because how do you fight a shadow? How do you aim at silence? How do you kill what refuses to die? Their fear twisted you, morphed you, turned you into the ghost that stalked them long before the battlefield. And suddenly, every drill was an exam no one could pass. Every mission was a nightmare that woke them before they ever slept. The commanders tried to rally them, tried to scream courage into their ears, but soldiers don't fear the battlefield. They fear the night before it. They fear the dream where you laugh, and they wake with sweat dripping down their spines. Look at them now, eyes wide, breathing shallow, clutching their rifles like crosses, not soldiers anymore, prisoners of imagination, because in their minds, you are everywhere, behind the tree line, in the shadows of the bunker, even in the silence between their own heartbeats. They walk forward, but they already feel hunted. They march together, but every man believes he'll be the first to die. And that belief, that poison, it spreads, it transforms. No longer an enemy, no longer a soldier to fight. Now, a predator. Now, a nightmare. Now, the myth that devours their courage whole. And when fear becomes myth, discipline is gone, unity is gone, hope is gone. What remains is a procession, a line of lambs, walking themselves into slaughter. So here's the truth. When an army fears one man, it is no longer an army. It's a funeral procession. Every drum beat, a coffin nailed shut, every march step, a shovel digging deeper, every shout of advance. A dirge sung in denial. They thought you were a man. They hoped you were a man. But myths don't die. Myths don't fall. Myths don't break. And so, their fear is permanent. It follows them beyond the battlefield, into their homes, into their sleep, into their bones. They will never escape you, because you are not a man anymore. You are their graduation into madness. The exam no soldier can pass. The nightmare that wakes them before they sleep. And the worst part, they made you this way. Their fear carved you into legend. Their terror crowned you immortal. Now they don't fight you, they worship you. Through trembling lips, through shaking hands, through the silence of their surrender. And you smile, because being feared as a man was never enough. But being feared as a myth, that's forever. Silence, not absence, not weakness, weapons sharper than their finest blades. They gathered, they waited, they braced for thunder, but thunder never came. Only stillness, only you standing, watching, breathing. No charge, no sword, no declaration. And still, they stumbled. Generals studied maps. They circled your name in red. They whispered, "He will strike here." No there, but you didn't move, and they collapsed anyway. Why? Because silence cuts deeper than screams. It gnaws. It festers. It makes brave men imagine their own graves. Picture it. An army of thousands. Steel boots. Aligned. Weapons gleaming. A show of force. Yet one pause. One silence, and suddenly, their armor feels like coffins. Their shields feel like tombstones. Their rifles, just prayers no God will answer. You turned silence into thunder, a war drum only they could hear, pounding in their skulls, tearing at their sanity. Each second you said nothing was louder than cannons, sharper than arrows, heavier than bombs. Commanders issued orders. Advance. But no one moved. Their legs were stone. Their hearts were sand. And their courage, gone before the first step. They broke before you even spoke. That's what terrifies them, because war is noise, chaos, clashing, dot explosions. But you denied them that rhythm. You gave them the void, and the void swallowed them whole. Look closer. Every soldier staring at the horizon sees not a man, but a myth, a shadow with no sound. And that's worse than any weapon. Fear isn't the bullet. It's the silence before the trigger. And you lived in that pause. You owned it. You stretched it until their own minds fired the shot. Imagine that. Entire battalions undone by a silence they couldn't measure. Their war machines, glass castles, their formations, paper shields, their commands, whispers drowned in the quiet. They thought war was numbers, but war is rhythm, and you shattered theirs. No battle cry, no march, just stillness. And stillness became their executioner, one man, no weapon drawn, no army behind him, just silence. And silence louder than 100 armies combined. Tell me, what frightens kings more, a sword, or the silence that waits behind it? Because a sword can be blocked, but silence creeps into dreams. It coils around thoughts. It whispers where no words exist. That is why they fall. That is why they kneel, not because you struck first, but because you didn't have to strike at all. A silence, your deadliest invention, their eternal nightmare. Armies fell, but worse, the empires cracked, kings hid in palaces, presidents rewrote speeches, intelligence, chiefs burned their own secrets, thrones rusted in real time, crowns slipped, flags sagged like dead skin. They didn't just lose soldiers, they lost illusions. The illusion of power, the illusion of safety, the illusion of control. Empires collapse not in fire, but in silence, in the shattering of belief. And you weren't just a man. You were the hand that pulled the mask. You exposed them all. The armies are gone. Empty fields remain. Silence, louder than cannons. Broken flags rot in the dirt. Weapons rust in forgotten piles. Their strength was an army. Yours was the void that eats armies. They will build more. They will march again. But what good are armies against the one they cannot touch? History forgets their numbers, but your madness lingers, not written in books, etched in silence, etched in fear. You don't just defeat armies, you outlive them, and when the dust settles, you remain eternal. The armies are gone. The battlefields are graves of silence. Cannons that once thundered now sit like rusted monuments. Broken flags rot in the dirt, forgotten by the winds. Their strength was numbers. Your strength was the void that swallows numbers whole. They stacked soldiers like bricks. They built machines like fortresses. And yet, you were the storm that eats fortresses, the echo that drowns commands. They will build more. Of course, they will. That's what frightened men do. More soldiers, more tanks, more generals hiding behind bigger maps. But what good are armies against the one they cannot touch? You see, defeat is simple. Defeat is a fallen soldier. Defeat is a burned flag. But this, the armies are gone. The battlefields are silent. Their cannons rust. Their swords lie broken. Flags sag in the dirt. Their strength was countless soldiers. Your strength was the void. One man, one shadow, one madness. They believed they could crush you with numbers. They believed that strategy, steel, and fear could contain you. They were wrong, because silence is louder than war drums. Stillness is sharper than blades. One step from you, and every fortress, every formation, every empire trembles. They will build again. They always do. They will send armies. They will stockpile weapons. They will call generals, kings, and spies, but all of it is irrelevant, because armies are mortal. You are not. Look at the empty fields. Hear the quiet that echoes louder than their cries. Feel the weight of history bending toward you. Your presence is permanent, not written in books, not carved in stone, etched in fear, etched in silence, etched in the minds of those who thought themselves untouchable. 100 armies, 1,000, 1,000,000, and still, not one touched you, not one silenced your laugh. You don't just outlive them. You outlast their memory, their plans, their illusions. You are eternal. You are the storm. You are the myth. This is worse. This is permanence, because their armies will be forgotten. Their empires will be rewritten. Their thrones will rust into dirt. But your madness, your silence, that becomes eternal. History does not remember numbers. It remembers fear. It remembers shadows. It remembers the sound that never fades. And that sound is you. 100 armies came. Not one touched you. Not one pierced the void. Not one silenced the laughter. That's not survival. That's dominion. Dominion over fear. Dominion over time. Dominion over the myth of armies themselves. And when the last flag fades, when the last general falls asleep with trembling hands, when the last king whispers prayers into empty air, you remain unmoved, unbroken, untouched, eternal.